So one of the other really cool things about vector format and Adobe Illustrator is that we can actually go in to an SVG file if we've saved it as SVG, and we can actually even look at the code and modify the code, which can allow us to do some pretty cool things. So I'm not going to do anything complicated. I'm just going to show you what it looks like and show you some easy tweaks that you can make and the effect it can have. Now there's much more advanced things that you can do with it. You can cause interaction into the code, you can create animation with it. There's some amazing things you can do once you get more experience with coding and with how some of these things work. But for now, I just want you to see that it can be done and that it isn't necessarily hard depending on what exactly you want to do. So just to start things out simple, or just to keep things simple in general, let's go ahead and just make a square here and give it a color. And we'll go ahead and make a circle and give it a color as well, and let's change its stroke color to maybe green, and we'll decrease the stroke width, cancel, to 2. So we've got a square and a circle, 2 different strokes, 2 different colors, and let's see what happens. So we're going to save this as a .svg. We'll just call it test for now. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and quit Illustrator because I don't want there to be any conflicts between having Illustrator open and using the file in TextEdit or a different program. So we'll just close that out. So just Command Q for the hotkey for quits. And here we have my test.svg. I'm going to open it with TextEdit, which I don't see here. So I'm going to go to Edit and TextEdit. Alright, so hopefully when yours opens, it looks like this. That's how it should look. If, however, yours looks like this, and that means you're in rich text format, and you've got an issue here, because it's going to put a bunch of extra code in there that you don't need, that's going to cause problems and mess up your SVG. So if we go into Preferences, you can change this from rich to plain, remove all of these little dots on here. Let's see anything else that we need. That all looks good. Open and save. Make sure that it does not add text to it. I think everything else looks good. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to display HTML files as HTML code instead of formatted text. That could be important too. Alright, so now if we do File New, there we go. So this looks good. Now mine opened fine already, and if yours did too, then don't worry about it, you're good. Let's zoom in so you can actually see what I'm looking at. Alright, so this might look a little confusing to you, but let's just break it down. So in here, we have this little bit of coding up here, so XML, version, etc., encoding, blah, blah, blah. That's just telling the computer what type of code this is, right? And then here we have a comment, this little exclamation point inside of this bracket here is basically a comment. It's telling it what this was made in. We could probably delete this altogether, and that would probably be fine. In fact, let's try it. So if I do Command S, and I try to open this with maybe Firefox, looks fine to me. What if I open it with Illustrator? Still looks good. So even though Illustrator wrote that code in there, Illustrator doesn't actually care whether it's there or not. It just adds it in there. So you can remove it if it's confusing to you. Now, Doctype Svg, this could matter. Some of these can matter because it's telling it how to read this code. Now, I know it has an exclamation point in here, so you might be thinking comment once again, but Doctype is kind of special, so leave that alone. We also have Svg here. Once again, we're looking at some of this is telling it how to write stuff. So once again, just leave some of this alone. It doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but like it doesn't matter to you trying to modify stuff. So what you want to look at is what we have in here. We have our width and our height. So right now you can't really tell because we have white on a white background. But if there was some color to this, then it might make a difference. Oops. More importantly here, we have our shapes. So we have rect for rectangle, and we have circle. And so these are our little bits of code that are creating this rectangle and this circle. And so we have X and we have Y, and so these are the locations. So like, for example, if I change this to like maybe 48 and maybe 120, and I'll just do Command S to save, and let's refresh this. There you saw it moved. Now it moved just a little bit, but it moved. And if we do the same thing with the circle, ooh, circle works a little bit differently. CX, CY, R, well, you might be able to guess what those are. So this is the X of the center, I would imagine, and this is the Y of the center. Sounds logical to me. So what happens if we knock those down a bit? So just knock them down by 100, so Command S, refresh. Whoa, it did not like that. Let's put that back where it was. Oh, I think I know what it was. There we go. Did you see what it did there? It replaced it with a smart quote. That was the problem. The numbers are fine. It's these smart quotes that I put in there. Smart quotes are bad. Alright, Command S. You can see same change as before. And refresh. There we go. So it moved the circle over. And if we drop the radius down, maybe 100. Actually, let's go with 10. And we save that. Whoa, small circle. So you can make some changes here, and it can actually change the graphics here, and you can see the coding for that, and that's kind of cool. Now, these are color codes, and in specific, these are hex codes. So the way that this works is the first two are red, the second two are green, and the last two are blue. You'll see this again later on if you get involved with coding or a lot of technology stuff or a lot of design stuff. And basically what this is each one of these values has 2 digits. So red is 2 digits, green is 2 digits, and blue is 2 digits. And each one of these digits can be anywhere between the number 0 and the number F, which that's how the computer thinks in this type of code. So 0 through F. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. So if we do like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and we save this, and we refresh it. Now keep in mind, the circle will grow because we made that bigger. Oops. Once again, it replaced my quote. So paste that over, and it replaced that one too. That's a little obnoxious. Command S, and we'll refresh this. Somewhere in my preferences, I bet it has something about fixing that. Oh, it says not to use smart quotes, but it's using them anyways. That's okay. So all zeros is black. If we do FF, 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 which remember 0 to F, and we'll just copy and paste those quotes over it again, and refresh. All Fs are white. And if we mix and match, we can start to understand, hopefully, how some of these colors work. So paste over that smart quote and Command S. And for example here, oops, left out a 0. There we go, that's what I was expecting. So 2 Fs and all zeros, that becomes red. So FF is like full on, like all of the red you can put in there, put it all in there. Whereas like zeros is like no color in there at all. So you can mix these together and create different combinations to create different colors. We can also do that with the strokes as well. We can change the stroke width. Well, we've got a couple options here actually, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. The ones that I would play with are kind of these here. You can try that out if you want and see what that does, see if you can figure it out.